Hi, this is Bill Rice. I just wanted to do a real quick video here to show you how I take keyword research and translate that information into an actual working and functioning website for whatever my particular objective is, either to sell a product or a service or some other result that I'm trying to achieve. So this is the simple sort of 1, 2, 3 approach that I use. I start with the specific objective in mind. Again, whether I'm trying to sell something, or maybe I just want to provide some information or get email signups, or whatever the objective is, I want to have that in my mind, and that's going to drive all the different types of searches as I research on Google and all the brainstorming that I do around keywords. Then I'm going to show you how I use Google's keyword tool as the sort of the primary mechanism for all of my research. Then we're going to take that information, that data, do a little spreadsheet work with it, and ultimately convert it into a working website architecture. And we'll talk a little bit about how do you sustain that over time to make sure that that website continues to focus on what's important to you. So let's switch over to the live web here. And the first thing that I always do is just simply do some Google searches the way that I would do it. So if I'm thinking about dog training, this is always a great one. It's sort of the classic example that all SEO training seems to use, but it's a great one to look at and to do some work when you're trying to sort of figure this stuff out, because there's a lot of good SEO work done in this space because it is so often used as an example. But you can see I searched for dog training, and one interesting thing you'll find right off the bat is that Google does a really good job, for as much as people always say bad things about Google. They do a really nice job of trying to get you the result that's probably most applicable to that research. So if I do dog training, I'm probably looking for a place to go train my dog. And so as a result of that, you can see that I have a lot of local searches here, actual places that I can take my dog and myself and train them. But if you see when I actually do a slightly different search on like how to potty train a puppy, which is a very specific thing within a larger dog training category, I don't really get those local searches. I'm actually getting material back. I'm getting some videos back. So it's always good, and I always talk about this whenever I'm teaching SEO, is just sort of browse the neighborhood, do some searches and get a feel for what the neighborhood looks like. But once I've done that, I'll come up with sort of high level, 1 to 5 terms, and then I'm going to take those over to Google's keyword tool. And you can just simply find this by searching in Google keyword, and you're going to find this tool. So in order to get this search, I just simply started with one of my keywords, which I think is sort of a good way to do it instead of getting too many in there, because it just sort of gets confusing. We'll do our little CAPTCHA. Okay. All right, so now I've got my results. This is the one that I typed in. You notice that I used the exact match. I always think this is a good way to start because these are very specific searches that people have done. They actually typed the words that you see listed here, and then Google does a great job of brainstorming for me. They're going to tell you other searches that are sort of relevant and related to dog training that people have actually done. And I'm focusing most of my attention on the competition and the volume of search queries here, because I'm always sort of looking for, where do I have a little bit lower competition but maybe still retain some of the high search quantity and volume. It's very unlikely that you're going to find a lot of search volume and not a reasonable amount of competition. So don't get too hung up on that, but it is a good guide to use. So once I'm done here, I just simply go and download, and in this case I'm going to download all of them, and I can select how I want to do it. Usually this CSV for Excel makes it really easy because I can work in Excel. And I'm going to take all of these results and I'm going to download them into an Excel file. And I've gone ahead and set that up, and this is sort of what it looks like in Excel. And I do sort of a 3-step process that you're going to get to see here as I convert these keywords into ultimately into a website architecture. So I'm going to start with my keyword ideas, and as you go down through here, you could take a look. I'm really just sort of looking at the actual words, and I'm trying to, the eye is really good at this, sort of sort out major categories that these searches could be put into, because when I put it on a website, I have to organize it for people. And that's really one of the core values of providing, an SEO, a well SEO'd website is you've sort of organized all of these searches around a particular topic. And so that's what I do. I'm going to take this list and I'm going to start to organize it. And you can see I've picked out some searches that are sort of that top level search, and I think of these more or less as sort of my navigation possibly of the website. And then I try to break those keywords into larger sort of chunks of related searches. And again, those often I sort of think in the concept of WordPress websites. So to me, those are often going to be translated into categories or pages possibly. And then these individual searches are going to translate into definitely at least a page and possibly a series of posts in each category. So that's the second step, is to literally take this list and start to organize it into something that's going to make sense to a web visitor as they navigate through my site. And then ultimately, I'm going to translate this into actual URLs or website sort of architecture. And you can see, always focus on your about and contact page. People want to know who you are and they want to know how to contact you. So don't ever forget about those and leave those out when you're organizing it. Then you can see I've just simply taken that organization and I've built it into, put it into my topics. And then I've actually created, keyword optimized URLs. And then the most important keys to SEO, on-page SEO is getting my title right, making sure that I'm using my my keywords and hopefully not overusing them. A lot of times I use just sort of the keyword or the name of the page, the title of the page, and then the actual site name. So in this case, I just said it was Dog Training Emporium. But this site name, hopefully you've got sort of a keyword relevant site name. So you get a little extra juice from that without looking like you're just stuffing keywords in there. And then the description. I like to make these very just sort of user-friendly, because that description is going to show back up right here, So you want to sort of entice people to come to your site. It's much like an ad. It's funny that these are paid for ads, and people try to compel people to click on their ads, yet you can do the same thing down here, but most people don't. So I like to try to come up with and think of these as sort of like Google Word ads. So there's my title, and there's my description, and then there's my URL, and it all should ultimately sort of look like, a Google ad word, right? There's my title, there's my link, which is, keyword puppy, and there's my actual description, which should be short and sweet, but be relevant, okay? And then ultimately, once I have this whole list, and then hopefully I've also built some content, because that'll make it go faster, I'll go over to, in my case, I always use WordPress, but you can do it in other ways, and then simply take my title, put it in here, put my content in here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I like to use WordPress's SEO tool by Yoast. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But and then I can go ahead and do a specific SEO title if I want to change it, or update the meta description to make it very specific, and then ultimately keywords, put it into the relevant category, and boom, publish. And I have gone all the way from the keywords to a little spreadsheet work to organize it well into a website and put it into my website, and then we're all done. So hopefully you've enjoyed this short presentation on how to turn keywords into a website. And if you want any more information, I'd love to have you sign up for our newsletter. You can get me on Twitter at any time. And if you want to join us for our next Wednesday webinar, just go to kaleidoco.com/learn and just schedule yourself for the next webinar. Thanks for visiting.